The following action is brought to you by Motorsport South Africa and its partners Toyota, Ford, Volkswagen, Sasol and Dunlop. The South African National Rally Championship has just passed the mid-season point, but already it feels as if everyone is getting into a frenzy in order to secure their respective championships. In Class S1600 for front-wheel drive rally machines with engines up to 1600cc, the title race has been a completely one-sided affair up until now. Guy Bottrell and Simon Basie-Lyle have won 4 out of 4 rounds, and any betting man would probably put a couple of rounds on them, making it 5 from 5. The odds are really in their favour. But rallying is a cruel and exhilarating sport, and just about anything can still happen. While Bottrell's lead in the championship is substantial, he can still be caught, only just, especially if he stumbles somewhere. And few places offer quite as much room to stumble as the Imperial Toyota Cullinan Rally, round 5 of the championship, which took place on August the 15th and 16th in the Cullinan and Bronkhorstspruit areas of Gauteng. This rally featured 6 stages, each of them repeated on day 2. Additionally, the stages were relatively short and sharp, with many 90-degree corners and hairpins, which made for extremely close stage times. So the smallest hiccup here could have far-reaching consequences. Just ask defending Class S2000 champion Mark Cronje. Cronje got off to a great start with navigator Robin Halton beside him. The pair blitzed stage 1, taking the lead by 3 seconds. Behind them came the 2 Castrol Team Toyota Yaris's, piloted by Leroy Polter and Adrian Fecken respectively. So it was clear from early on that the Toyotas were on the pace. But there was a hiccup on stage 1 for Cronje. He made contact with a rock mid-stage, which damaged the transmission on his Ford Fiesta. So during their visit to the Dunlop Service Park, after stage 1, his crew had to change the gearbox in under 20 minutes. As the mechanics worked like madmen, the rock ran down, and Cronje was forced to take lateness, dropping him out of the lead of the rally and handing it over to Polter instead. Cronje never quite recovered from the first stage mishap and eventually finished 5th overall, putting the brakes on what was turning into a mid-season challenge for the championship. Polter in the meantime took over as a rally leader and retained that position right to the end. Teammate Adrian Fecken ended day 1 in 2nd position but slid down to 4th on day 2. And then there was another hiccup. Sasol Volkswagen Racing's Hans Weiss and Bjorn de Gant rolled their Volkswagen Polo in the penultimate stage, handing Fecken the final podium spot in the process. This clearly put a big smile on the faces of the Castrol Team Toyota crew, but still nothing near as big as the smile on the faces of Japie van Niekerk and Gerard Snyman, who achieved a career best finish when they pegged the 2nd position in their NAD Ford Fiesta. So just a little hiccup here and there, and absolutely everything can change. So while Bottrell in his Yato-supported Toyota Etios R2 was clearly in control of the championship, there was always a chance of a stumble. Not that that seemed to enter his mind before the start of the rally.
Yeah, we just try and keep the momentum going, and you never know what happens. The rally is still, still a long way in the season to go, so we're not too excited about anything. We're taking each race at a time.
Going into round 5, Bottrell had a lead of 44 points over Chad van Beurden in the VW Gem Sport Volkswagen Polo. But van Beurden had only just lost out on the win in Port Elizabeth's Volkswagen Rally last month and already had 2 second places to his name. So if there was a threat to Bottrell's championship anywhere, it would most likely come from van Beurden. With that said, Ashley Haig-Smith in the AHS Ford Fiesta was only 6 points behind van Beurden after 4 rounds of the championship. So if van Beurden had a chance, then so did Haig-Smith. But where van Beurden had racked up 2 second places, Haig-Smith could only boast 1 of them. Still, it would be a mistake to write off the fast youngster at this point. So a quick look at the season standings clearly show why Bottrell has reason to be comfortable at this point. After 4 rounds, he leads Van Beurden by 44 points and Haig Smith by 50. Young AC Potgieter in the Volkswagen Polo is in 4th, with Matthew Vasey-Lyle in the Fragram Toyota currently in 5th. With 4 rounds to go, it is now or never for any of the teams chasing Bottrell. One more win will surely place him out of reach. But from the get-go, it was clear that Bottrell would have to earn this win the hard way. The Imperial Toyota Cullinan Rally stages were relatively short, with stage 1 only 8 kilometres in length, and making up even a couple of lost seconds can be quite a challenge, which is why Chad van Beurden and navigator Nico Swartz had reason to be cautiously optimistic. The pair went fastest through stage 1 in their VW Gemsport Volkswagen Polo.
Very short stage, so as we got into it, it was ending, but I think it went okay.
They were fastest, yes, but only just faster than Bottrell and Vasey-Lyle in the Yato Toyota Etios. Bottrell's time was just 0.6 of a second slower than that posted by Van Beurden, and even though he lost some time, the Durbanite wasn't unhappy with his performance.
Been alright. It's quite slippery. A couple times we changed down too many gears for corners, but not too bad for the first stage.
The two frontrunners clearly had the bit between their teeth as the gap to the third fastest crew was exactly 6 seconds. Marco Himmel and Francis Schoenby came through third quickest and were followed by Paul Franken and Henry Kern, both crews fielding Volkswagen Polos. Ernie van der Walt with James Aldridge next to him in the Ferodo Ford Fiesta R2 was next quickest, 10 seconds slower than the two early leaders. Ashley Haig Smith in the AHS Ford Fiesta came through next, but he realised early on that he'd made some mistakes at the start of the rally.
It went alright, yeah, we pushed too hard in the beginning, so I think we're going to make up some time now.
Next up was a welcome visit to the Dunlop Service Park, based at the Zonderwater Correctional Facility. Even though the first stage had been a short one, it helped the crews to settle in and sort out their machines before the next gaggle of stages commenced. Stage 2, with the distinctly East Rand name of Bedford View, was up next, and at 16.2 kilometres in length, it offered the first real test for the crews. It was also the best opportunity for any of the crews to build an early lead, and that's exactly what Van Beurden and navigator Swartz proceeded to do. The pair romped home in a time of 16:37.2, piling the pressure onto Bottrell in the process. Clearly, Van Beurden was settling into the race.
No, the stage went alright for us. We're feeling a lot more comfortable, so we can drive at a higher pace now.
With all of that said, Bottrell and Vasey-Lyle lost only 5 seconds to Van Beurden, which really isn't all that much over 16 kilometres. But then making up those seconds could prove extremely difficult later on. Bottrell, however, was still upbeat about his chances.
There we battled to get into a rhythm. We just got stuck in a few ruts.
Third fastest was again the Namibian pairing of Marco Himmel and Francis Schoenby, but they lost another 10 seconds to Bottrell in the process. They pipped Haig Smith and navigator Damien van As by a full 5 seconds, however, clearly showing that Haig Smith still had a lot of ground to make up.
Yeah, much better stage. Those front guys are going, so we're going to have to pick up our pace.
Van der Walt and Aldridge was still in the mix, with AC Potgieter and navigator Tommy de Toy holding their own in the Ferodo Ford Fiesta. Behind them, Andrew Heine and navigator Robbie Kutsia were posting reasonable stage times, and they were followed by Franken, Chris Kurtze in the Electrothread Toyota Etios, Richard Leake in the ATS Ford Fiesta, and Vasey-Lyle in the Fragram Toyota Etios. Stage 3 was up next, but with only 5 kilometres of special stage to work with, crews were either going to make it through without trouble or not. Those that remained clear of trouble, those hiccups we spoke about earlier, would most likely just hold station. As for the others, well, they'd gained first-hand experience of the trickery that is the Cullinan Rally. As it turned out, most of the crews managed to steer clear of the pitfalls of stage 3. Van Beurden again went fastest, further extending his lead and also making clear his intentions. He was here to win this thing and hopefully mount a late charge for the championship. He came through just under 2 seconds faster than second-place man Marco Himmel, who in turn pipped Ernie van der Walt by 3 seconds. But what about Bottrell? The usually unflappable Durbanite had a tough stage and lost 16 seconds to Van Beurden, pushing him down to third overall with a lot to think about. Kurze, Heine, Lyle and Franken all posted great stage times, with Leek, Bottrell, Haig-Smith and Potgieter bringing up the rear. A visit to the Dunlop Service Park was next, giving us a moment to look at the standings. After 3 stages of rallying, it was Chad van Beurden and Nico Swartz in the driver's seat, with a 16-second lead over Himmel and Schoenby. Bottrell had moved down to third, with Van der Walt and Haig-Smith completing the top 5. At nearly 18 kilometres in length, Stage 4, Kempton Park, was the longest of the rally. And as such, it also offered the greatest opportunity to make up time, or toss everything away. For Chad van Beurden, it was nearly the latter, as he overcooked a corner and lost quite a bit of time in the resulting overshoot. Exactly how much only became clear later, but the Pretoria student wasn't too pleased with that little stumble.
This stage was very sandy and we got our own dust on us and we couldn't see where we were going. We had a bit of an overshoot, but we managed to keep going.
But while Bottrell may have taken a chunk of time out of Van Beurden's, it was Ernie van der Walt in the Ferodo Ford who posted the fastest time on the stage. The youngster went 2 seconds faster than Bottrell and had reason to be upbeat.
It's very difficult to drive, especially with the front wheel drives. It's so loose and so soft.
Marco Himmel had been posting good stage times earlier, and he came through third fastest on the stage, just 6 seconds slower than Bottrell. Haig-Smith was next quickest, and he was followed by Van Beurden, then Franken and Andrew Heine, who was again showing real pace on this event. Stage 5 was another long one, and at 15 kilometres, Randburg, as it was known, was sure to separate the men from the boys. But ironically, that's exactly what it didn't do. With everything to play for, Van Beurden went fast through the stage, hoping to reclaim some of the time he had lost on the previous one. But Bottrell had exactly the same plan and matched Van Beurden's time to the split second. They both came through in 9:59.1, 7 seconds faster than Ashley Haig-Smith, who posted the second quickest time. Van der Walt was again right in the mix, posting the third fastest time, with Franken and Himmel following him home. Slightly further back came Potgieter, Heine and Lyle. With day 1 of the event drawing to a close, it was time to face the third stage on the trot. Stage 6, straight on park, was just shy of 15 kilometres long, and it clearly showed that the fight for the top step of the podium was far from over. Guy Bottrell, with Simon Lyle next to him, posted a time of 10:15.1, which seemed fairly decent considering it wasn't far off the pace of some of the faster S2000 machines, and Bottrell seemed happy with it too.
Yeah, we're happy, car's feeling alright. Just with all the sand, it's very difficult to carry speed, and so it's very easy to make a mistake.
And he had good reason to be pleased, as his time was a single second quicker than the posted one by his closest championship rival, Chad van Beurden. But a single second wasn't enough to swing things back Bottrell's way, so Van Beurden still had reason to be happy. Just 0.4 of a second behind Van Beurden came young Ernie van der Walt in the Ferodo Ford. The young man was clearly on it as he launched his little car through the stage.
I'm quite happy, pushing forward.
Ashley Haig-Smith was next quickest, though he did lose 10 seconds to the 3 cars that came through before him. He was still in touch with the rally for sure, but he would have to dig deep unless someone ahead of him tripped up.
We've been struggling today, so let's see if we can do some changes tonight and have a good one tomorrow, I guess.
Franken was next fastest, and he was followed home by Heine, Potgieter and Lyle. So, by the time day 1 was done and dusted, it was Chad van Beurden who held an 11-second lead over Bottrell. Van der Walt was driving well to hold on to third, with Haig-Smith and Franken completing the top 5. Back at the Dunlop Service Park, the rally leader took a moment to reflect on his day's work.
It was a tough day.
To keep momentum through the sand is always difficult, but our notes worked very well and we were able to commit, so day 2 is going to be very, very interesting.
Join us again after the break for more action from the Imperial Toyota Cullinan Rally. For the first time this year, a name other than Botchel was at the top of the leaderboard. At the start of day 2 of the Imperial Toyota Cullinan Rally, Chad van Beurden and navigator Nico Swart were in control of the event. But they had Botchel and these navigators Simon Vasey-Lyle just 11 seconds behind them. Now, on most rallies 11 seconds wouldn't be much, but here on the tight high-felt roads around Cullinan, it's quite substantial. Not that van Beurden had decided to back off just yet. On the contrary, as stage 7 rolled around, van Beurden proceeded to push hard yet again. Remember that this event consisted of 6 stages, each run twice, and Saturday was thus an exact repeat of Friday's stages, which may explain why van Beurden went 7 seconds quicker on the second run, winning the stage and further extending his lead.
Yeah, no problems. We managed to get through there 5 seconds quicker than yesterday, so we think it's quick enough.
Next fastest was Ashley Haig-Smith in the AHS Ford Fiesta, who came through 6 seconds slower than van Beurden.
Much better, yeah. No, we have a good setup, I think, today.
He was followed by Matthew Vasey-Lyle in the Fragram Toyota Etios, who was driving a great rally despite a challenging start on day 1. Marco Himmel and Ernie van der Walt followed, but the big question was, what on earth had happened to Guy Botchel and Simon Vasey-Lyle? Remember, this is the crew with a perfect start-to-win ratio this year. 4 wins from 4 events, and nary a foot wrong. Their Etios hadn't missed a beat yet. Still, they fell foul to the wrath of the rally gods. Their normally dependable Toyota had snapped a drive shaft at the start of the stage, leaving them with one-wheel drive, and a time nearly 1.5 minutes down on van Beurden. Game over, then especially with 2 more stages to go before service.
As we pulled off the line, we broke a drive shaft instantly. As the clock went to 0, we broke a drive shaft, so we did the whole stage with one drive shaft.
With Botchel struggling to stay afloat, van Beurden found himself with a suddenly comfortable lead. Even so, the Pretoria student didn't back off, and he went flying through stage 8. His time of 10:31.0 was good, but not nearly as good as he would probably have liked. As it turned out, Ashley Haig-Smith had also found his groove and posted a time of 10:31.4, just 4/10 slower than van Beurden, despite 16.2 kilometres of rallying. The pair showed a clean pair of heels to the rest of the field though, as Franken, who was next quickest, came through 12 seconds slower. He was followed by Richard Leek in the ATS Ford Fiesta, Marco Himmel, Matthew Vasey-Lyle, Ernie van der Walt, Chris Kurzer and Andrew Hayner. By the time stage 9 kicked off, van Beurden's lead was up to 55 seconds, and the need for ultimate speed was being replaced by an urge to protect the car. As a result, van Beurden went significantly slower than the rest on stage 9, but he was still happy that he was in control of the rally.
Yeah, we've got about a minute lead.
The stage win went to Ashley Haig-Smith and Damien van Us in their Ford Fiesta R2. They posted a time of 4:43.8, some 5 seconds quicker than anyone else.
Yeah, we're having a good push. We finally found our rhythm from yesterday.
Second quickest was Ernie van der Walt and James Aldridge in their Ferodo-supported Ford Fiesta. The pair had been pushing hard throughout, and now it was paying off.
Yes, I'm quite happy. We'll take it from here, not get too hasty.
Richard Leek in the ATS Ford Fiesta was third quickest, and they were followed by Hayner, Kurzer and Vasey-Lyle. With stage 9 done, it was time for a much-needed visit to the Dunlop Service Park. It was also a good opportunity to take stock of the rally. With Botchel now gone from the standings, it was van Beurden who held a 34-second lead over Haig-Smith, with van der Walt just 0.6 of a second further back. The battle for second was alive and well. Franken was another 55 seconds back, and he held a 31-second lead over Hayner with just 3 stages to go. With Van Beurden having turned down the wick a little, it opened the door for some of the other drivers to stamp their authority on the event. Still, Van Beurden was holding steady in the lead, despite posting only the 6th fastest time on stage 10 of the rally.
Yeah, we had a clean stage there. We must see because Ashley was catching us.
Stage winner once again was the resurgent Ashley Haig-Smith, who posted a time of 13:25.3.
Very happy. Oh, we're finding a good rhythm, so we keep on going. We lost a lot of time here yesterday, so we've got to make it up.
He was followed a single second slower by Paul Franken and Henry Kern in the Manitou Volkswagen Polo. The pair had been going steadily on day 2, and their time here proved that they may still become a force to be reckoned with in the future. Richard Leek and Potgieter were next quickest, with Leek showing good pace. Van der Walt lost some time on the stage, but still finished 0.4 of a second faster than Van Beurden. By now, the stages were running out, and it was clear that all Van Beurden had to do was stay on the road. A second run through the 15-kilometre-long stage, known as Randburg, followed, and it was again Haig-Smith who went quickest. His time was 9:58.5, only 0.7 seconds faster than the time posted by the rally leader. It was clear that Haig-Smith was pushing, but it was equally clear that Van Beurden was still controlling his pace. The two leaders pipped third fastest man Richard Leek by 7 seconds, and he in turn blitzed Marco Himmel by 3. For Ernie van der Walt, stage 11 was a turning point. He lost a large chunk of time and effectively dropped out of the chase for the podium. And then almost suddenly, the last stage was upon the field. All that remained of the 2014 Cullinan rally was one more run through the 14.8-kilometre long straight-on park stage, and it all would be over. And all Van Beurden had to do was keep it tidy and on the road. But maybe his loss during the previous round spurred him on, as he also had the lead going into the final stage in PE. But he had to watch his win slip away as he gave away too much time. Whatever the case may be, Van Beurden proceeded to put in one more stage win for the event, sealing his maiden victory.
Yeah, we're happy with the day and happy with the weekend.
His time was 7 seconds quicker than the time posted by Ashley Haig-Smith, who came through second fastest. For Haig-Smith, however, it was great to be back on the podium. And then, out of nowhere, came Andrew Heine and Robbie Coetzee to seal the final podium position. The pair had been lurking at the back of the top 5 throughout the event, and when both Van der Walt and Himmel faltered, they were there to pick up the pieces. And here's confirmation of that result. Van Beurden takes his maiden victory in class S1600, followed home by Haig-Smith and Heine. The top 5 was rounded out by Vasey Lyle and Van der Walt, who was left to wonder yet again what could have been. For Van Beurden, his first victory was exceptionally sweet, and he had every reason to be proud.
Yeah, no, we can't believe it. We are so happy to have finally won. The rally went great for us, no major hiccups.
The combination of Van Beurden's win and Bottrell's DNF closes the gap between the two considerably, just about keeping the championship alive. Next up is the Toyota Dealer Rally in the Cape, which takes place on 19 and 20 September around Malmesbury. Given the current standings in the championship and how much is at stake, round 6 might just be a turning point of sorts. We'll see you there. This action was brought to you by Motorsport South Africa and its partners Toyota, Ford, Volkswagen, Sasol and Dunlop.